Hi everybody, it's HYZ Marie here, and July is right around the corner, which means it's almost time for Artfight! Yay! If you don't know what Artfight is, it's basically a giant art trade on a website where you draw people's OCs and they draw yours. It's actually very near and dear to my heart because without it, I'd probably have spent years dragging my feet about starting this channel. As it was, the start of the event spurred me on, and I've joined every year since. Of course, for somebody to draw your OCs, they need good references. And today we'll be doing that for 5 different OCs. Let's start with Leafcutter. Leafcutter is my current Sona, which just means that she represents me in most places online. So she's a high-wing, rain-wing hybrid from the Wings of Fire series. And when I made this ref around March, I think, my style was changing rapidly. But those changes hadn't quite matured yet, so I hadn't practiced this new style very much, and it ended up looking a bit odd. Didn't look very polished. Leafcutter has a few special powers. Her tail is prehensile, her fangs are venomous if she bites someone, and her scales can become a few other colors, but no full camouflage. This ref also included some jewelry that I had given her since the last one, but because the shading looked striped and that was confusing. The proportions were also a bit off. Leafcutter has long, elegant proportions like both of her parent tribes, but that looked awkward here, so not great. Her tongue is black like a hive wing, and she has large fangs, once again, the venom. When I redid this drawing, I made several changes because I wasn't happy with the old one. First, I changed the proportions, also making sure to show both wings so you could see both sides. I also added a more playful expression, which fits her personality better. The most difficult part about this design, to me at least, is just drawing the translucent frill and wings because they require really good use of layers, and I still suck at layers. I can't. I made sure to show the scale patterns, which have gotten simpler over time as I don't draw individual scales as much. And with the prehensile tail, I had it twist as well as curling inward, just to show how flexible it really is. So, yeah. Leafcutter's wings are very unique. Because she's half hive wing, she has 4 wings, but since she's half rain wing, 2 of those are typical dragon wings. The insect wings sit behind the regular wings, and they don't affect her flight, they're just for looks. And after adding the other colors Leafcutter can become, some basic info, and adding the color swatches so people can color pick on the ref, Leafcutter's new ref was done. Yoru Komori is a favorite OC of mine, but I don't have any footage of her ref sheet since it was traditional, so here's some other art. Yoru is from My Hero Academia, and her quirk is Bat, which allows her to fly and have really good hearing. Did I make a Nekomimi in MHA? Yes. I regret nothing. Yoru is a support course student, 1 year behind Class 1A, who is very driven, and she's brutally honest. And once she trusts someone, she doesn't let anything change that. Which actually came in handy after junior high, because in junior high, her closest friend turned into a monster and accidentally attacked the school. Despite that, Yoru still trusts him, and she knows that he wouldn't hurt anyone, at least not on purpose. And I've actually written out a lot of their story, which you can find on my Quotev. If you're interested, of course. You don't have to. Yoru is a real sweetheart, and she can still be fierce when needed, though. She'll need that, because her life is about to get pretty dangerous. Her closest friend and boyfriend is Suki Okami. His quirk is more of a curse than a gift. He sometimes turns into a monster, and when he does, he loses all control. Next on my list is Perra, and Perra is actually one of my oldest D&D characters who recently got a second life. Perra is a dragonborn, but because those don't really exist in the setting she's from, she's a magical experiment created by a mad wizard. I wasn't unhappy with Perra's original design, but she was originally a rogue, and when I played her again, I made her a sorcerer, so Perra's outfit really had to change. And match her new job. Perra has some bronze and some blue scales because she was an attempt to fuse two different dragons. The idea was to make a deadly lightning weapon, but the experiment failed, so Perra isn't a true dragon. She's a dragonborn, in fact. Haha. She's very salty because of her upbringing, verging on bitter, because being a lab rat will do that to ya. Poor girl. But Perra is still willing to work with others, largely because, after all, sorcerers are pretty squishy and she needs help to survive. Perra comes from a desert, but her design originally wasn't that desert-ish. I should have looked up some references, but I'm way more proud of her new version. And speaking of that new version, the new Perra is very different. For starters, her beefy build makes sense now. Even though she's a sorcerer, she has really high strength and constitution scores, so the staff she carries is no joke. She doesn't use it to cast spells, though. Her real spell focus is secretly her earring. Staff's a decoy. Perra's face is asymmetrical with different jewelry on each side, and a scar on one side of her face, so I had to show both sides. I changed her outfit drastically. She has harem pants now, very desert, as well as a beaded belt and a decorative shoulder plate. Perra is mostly a melee spellcaster who runs into battle to cast spells and whack them with her stick, the enemies. She even has the hit points to do it most of the time. She has a way more dragon-like design than official Dragonborn, but hey, she's like the only one of her kind, so she can be weird. Why not have fun? I like Perra's jewelry a lot. I always have, so I carried it over from her old reference. The only real change there is that the jewel in her earring is cyan instead of red, and the fact that it's now an arcane focus. Because she's a bronze dragonborn, Perra can breathe lightning. And when she does, her blue scales light up, just for show. And with that, Perra's design is done. Milo is the next to last one of this batch of ref sheets, and he's actually a modern reincarnation of Link. I based his design not only off Link, but off of Pidge from Voltron, which is why he has glasses. He's a little nerd fella. I didn't want to give him the typical green hat, which wouldn't make sense in a modern setting, so instead, I gave him a blue scarf, similar to Link in Hyrule Warriors. He wears just a touch of armor though in that shoulder pad because my love of medieval fantasy dies hard. His sneakers in this reference though are way too detailed, especially for a comic or animation, both of which I've done with him since. I always liked Milo's color palette once I figured out what was going on there, but originally his hair had a lot of detail, and once again I changed that when I animated him because it was too much. Milo's original design was pretty cluttered with a lot of detail in places that didn't really need it. I didn't ever draw most of those details again, so stuff like hand-drawn animation, it only added extra work that I didn't need. Colored line art too. It sounds like a good idea, and sometimes it is, but in this case, it just added more work than it was worth. I added some basic info, including the Triforce on his hand. And goodness, that hand is horrible. Looks like a dinosaur claw. I don't know what I was thinking. I made a new reference later on, and I simplified his design a lot when I started animating him. So I used that simpler design for the ref sheet. I also emphasize his small, young look, which makes it clear that poor, sweet Milo is very unprepared to save the world. Poor fella. He kept most of his outfit, except the pack within bedroll, because it just was chunky and messed with his silhouette. The color palette stayed the same though, because I love it. I also way simplified his sneakers and added a little bit of blush because the poor fella, he's pretty embarrassed to have all this pressure on him. And I added cell shading, even though rough sheets technically aren't supposed to have any, because sue me, my style looks so much better with shading. And I could color swatch anyway. I finally fixed that hand, but it was supposed to be his left one, and I can't tell left from right. Oops. And after adding some more information than the original and some color swatches, it's the last design of the day. Cloud. Cloud is a gargoyle, like in the old 90s Disney cartoon, which I just love that show. She's very different from most gargoyles. Recurring theme, my OCs are weird. And Cloud doesn't turn to stone during the day, and without that extra solar energy, she isn't very strong like most gargoyles are. Also, I didn't just want solid colors, so I gave Cloud vitiligo, which is a skin condition that gives her pale splotches and makes her pretty easily sunburned in those spots. She still doesn't let that stop her from enjoying the summer sun, though. Cloud is actually pretty insecure about not being much of like a true gargoyle, but she learns to get over it with time. She's just a real sweetie. I originally didn't plan to redesign Cloud, but I did an ink doodle of her, and I loved it so much that one thing led to another. And the biggest change, other than the style, was that Cloud now has tail fins, and her wings are now more spotted. And pretty soon, Cloud was done, and all of my best OCs were ready for Artfight. As always, thank you so much for watching, and hey, if you're on Artfight this year, come attack me, come say hi. I actually make more art on Artfight than I get, and I almost always revenge. I live for revenge chains. And even if you aren't on Artfight, your support in watching these videos anyway just means a lot to me. Thank you very much. For now though, I've gotta go, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!